Universal law is the most important law of life because it is really the law that controls everything. The subtile. This is where the true self lives. It lives in the astral realm. Okay? A place that you can't see, but you can feel it. Alright? Just like things that make your hair stand up. All of that are on this subtile level, like right underneath the surface. And let's try and look at it as uh, a table. Imagine a table with a thin sheet of plastic over it. Okay? The thin sheet of plastic is the subtile level. Okay? It's very thin. It's right there underneath. It crosses over because you can still see and feel the table, but it's not quite there. And that's what it is. It's there, but it's not. Okay, that piece of plastic really isn't stopping anything. It's really not. It's just something that's there. And that's kind of the only analogy that I can really think of without getting too deep right now and getting off too far off subject here. But this is the place where that subconscious level lives. And this is the place where the ego does not want awaken. Because if it gets awakened, then you're going to start to take control. And by you, I mean the true self will now be in control of your life. Now, you're going to be able to do things that you thought were impossible because you won't care what anybody thinks. Your brain will not be in the way anymore. You'll say, hey, I want to be a fashion designer, and you'll start making ways to start making that happen. And remember about vibration. You start living on a high vibrating level like that, you're going to keep moving forward, and these things will just start manifesting themselves. Like you'll be on a train one day or driving, and you'll meet somebody. You say, hey, I know this person. They're looking for an assistant, and that's how things will happen. What some people may call luck, it just means that you are following your true purpose. And destiny is such an overused word, so we're not going to really deal with destiny because you create your own destiny as you go. You made one wrong move, you have to start over again. That's not destiny. That's causality. You did something, something happens, or also known as karma. These are the things that you will start to live by once the true self is awakened. Now, I must warn you, when you do this, you have to be very careful because there is no turning back. Once you start thinking on this level here, you can't go back to living the way you used to live, a sleepwalker, walking around, not knowing what's going on, or pretending like you don't know what's going on. You're going to be enlightened in a sense. Not full enlightenment, but you're going to be awakened. And you go from being asleep to being awoke. A lot of things can happen. Shock, trauma to the brain happens. So, when confronting the true self with the ego, it's going to be a real physical and emotional experience here. And I'm going to give you guys a really easy technique to do this. Okay? And this technique is it may take a while, okay, but basically what you want to do is you want to take the first meditation technique that we learned about in the first video, and once you start to hold your breath now, I want you to go all the way back to as far as you can remember in your childhood. And I want you to basically just start thinking about every experience that you can remember and reliving it. Go inside, be like a ghost over top of the past. Okay? And I want you to be like Ebenezer Scrooge. Go back and look at your life. And you will start to find a lot of things that happened to you that made you into the person that you are. And a lot of these things need to be confronted. Okay, but be very careful when you're doing this because it's very emotional. So I would suggest that You practice the first meditation technique for some time, maybe a few weeks, a month, before you delve in to this self-awareness technique. Because, like I said, being awoken is a very traumatic experience. Okay, so with that caution being said again, I want you to keep continuing to remember these things. Let's say one time you got a beating over something that, let's say, you didn't do, and go back and revisit that trauma. Go back and revisit, how did you feel when nobody believed you, and the pain of being beaten over something that you didn't do, and the resentment that you may feel for your mother to this day about this. So you go there, you confront that, say you want to forgive her. You don't have to. It's up to you. And we'll talk about that type of thinking in the dove versus the serpent video, about basically, do you come from the darker side or do you come from the lighter side, and how a person should go about living a life along those lines. So once you realize and you go through these techniques and these experiences, it may take a week, a day, an hour, a month, I don't know. Depends on how much bad shit happened to you. Think about the good stuff too. Just think about every possible experience, but don't skip. You go back as far as you can and slowly relive your life all the way up until this point. And I guarantee you, a change will happen. And I'm talking about truly living these experiences. You have to live them. I want you to descend back down into that experience, because you're reliving a memory. So you can go back. Okay, your mind can travel back and remember exactly how you felt. Just like when you hear a song and it takes you back to another time, that's a basic form of mental time travel. And that's kind of what you want to do here. Go back, visit, say, okay, I don't like the way this happened, but there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you can do about your past. You can just relive it, but you can't do anything about it. Okay, so that's a paradox, but that's in the universe technique. A paradox is something that's impossible. Okay, like you couldn't go back in time and kill your own grandfather, because then you wouldn't exist to make that happen. So that's basically what happens with this mental time travel. You can't go back and do anything. All you can do is go back and feel what it felt like. And once you do this, you will be awakened. Your brain will be awakened. Everything will be up and buzzing, because you'll feel like a new person, because technically you are a new person. You will see that, hey, my life is not the sum of my experiences. My life can be recreated, and it can be lived moment to moment. So you don't have to dwell no more on the fact that your mommy didn't love you, or your cousin abused you, because a lot of that shit goes on. And unfortunately, it is just a fact of life. This shit just happens. I don't mean to sound cold, but we have to get over these things. If not, ego gonna win. You're gonna stay there. Listen, this shit happens to 1 out of every 7 women. They are abused. 1 out of every 7 women. That's a lot of women. So this is not an uncommon thing. It is just a fact of nature. Men sometimes are pieces of shit, and all they can do is live off their animal instincts, and they do stupid things. But you should not let that destroy or make you dictate how your life is supposed to be now. No, you're supposed to pick yourself up and go. If you were a boy and you were bullied, and beaten up and all of this shit, like, okay, it's over with. Get over it. Stand up for yourself. Go lift weights. Whatever you got to do to make yourself feel better. But let me tell you something. Stop living in the past, people. Stop living in the past, because the past is the brain of the ego. It wants you to stay there. You start living for the now and the present. You're living for the true self. Because remember, the random thoughts will stop. You will stop doubting yourself. You'll stop wondering how people are looking at it. All that shit will be gone. And of course, this is not going to happen overnight. And this may take several months or years. It took me almost a year to get to that point. So, you have to stick with it though. You can't just do it and get too sad and walk away from it. You have to keep up with it. Okay? Please do not give up. If you give up, you're going to have to start, you're going to descend back down. Now remember, you're climbing up here from earth to water to air. To fire, then the air, and then the ether. You can fall back down. And earth is the hardest thing to shake because it's solid. It's solid. And it's cold. And that's why nobody cares, because earth is just condensed matter. Okay, and you want to break that up and move upward. Remember, keep your energy moving upward towards ether. Okay, not downwards towards matter. You don't want to be stuck here, although you have to hold on to some sense of this world, because you just start floating off too much. You may hear people like Dan McDonald talking about being too spacey. That's what that is. When you ascend too high and you don't hold on to enough physical feeling or need or just life, you'll look crazy to the average person. So you have to keep a sense of here, but don't be stuck here. Okay? So remember, go back, confront your past, find out who you are, who your true self is. Then you will get control, put the ego to sleep. Random thoughts will stop. You'll have a quiet mind, and that quiet mind and your true self can make magic happen. You can do whatever you want. It's like having a genie in a bottle, all to yourself. Unlimited wishes. You can just create as you go along, because you won't have any fear and you won't have any mental obstruction, no bad vibrations. Remember, good vibrations, good energy, good results. Because that's like they say, if you have a strong will, you'll have strong energy. And that'll create strong magnetism, and that will attract all of the things that you want. So remember, will, energy, magnetism. So thought, action, attract. Everything will be in threes, because it's easy to remember threes. So go to sleep, ego. Wake up the true self and quiet down the mind. Okay? You'll be fine. I promise you. You'll be fine. So until next time, not quite sure what the next video is going to be about. Who knows? I just kind of think right before I hit record, and then I just go. So I don't really know. Until then, till next time, I'll see you later.